Before we leave, there's something you should know. Eric's voice was low enough that the relatives standing a few feet away couldn't hear him clearly. I was still beside my father's grave, gripping the folded funeral program so tightly the paper had creased between my fingers. What? He leaned closer. I changed the lock on the condo. For a second, I thought grief had scrambled the words in my head. You did what? The $30 million condo, he said. I had a locksmith handle it this morning. This morning. While I was getting dressed to bury my father, my husband had been arranging access to one of the most valuable properties connected to Dad's estate. Give me the new access information. Eric slipped his hands into his coat pockets. No. I stared at him. He didn't look ashamed. He looked prepared. Because you're not making decisions about $30 million without your husband. Something inside me went very still. Then Eric delivered the threat he clearly believed would break me. If you're not okay with it, maybe we should split. I looked at him and burst out laughing. His face changed immediately. What's funny? I glanced past his shoulder toward the parking area. Because Eric had absolutely no idea what he had just changed the locks on. A few relatives turned toward us when they heard me laugh. Eric noticed them too. His jaw tightened. Keep your voice down. You changed locks during my father's funeral, and you're worried about my voice. Tasha, don't turn this into something dramatic. I almost laughed again. For 6 years, Eric had been charming whenever other people were watching. At home, it was different. If I earned more, knew more, or handled something without him, his mood changed. I had learned to soften my successes just to avoid another argument. But even I hadn't expected this. Dad's downtown condo had been valued near $30 million. Eric knew that. What he didn't know was nearly as important as what he thought he knew. You've been secretive about your father's assets for months, he said. That ends now. You hired a locksmith without asking me. We're married. That wasn't my question. He stepped closer. There is no your property and my property anymore. If that condo came to you, it came into this marriage. Then he added, almost proudly, and until you understand that, you're not getting the new access code. That was when I saw Maya Bennett crossing the lot toward us. Dad's attorney. The woman who knew exactly how the condo had been structured long before my father died. Eric followed my eyes. Who are you looking at? I folded the funeral program and slipped it into my purse. Because suddenly, the question wasn't whether my husband could lock me out of a $30 million condo. It was this. What exactly had Eric changed the locks on? Eric didn't say another word until we were inside the car. The moment the doors shut, he turned toward me. What was that? I looked out the window. What was what? You laughing at me in front of everyone. I wasn't laughing at you. You were looking right at me. I was laughing at the situation. That's worse. He started the engine, but didn't pull away. Explain it. No. His fingers tightened around the steering wheel. That reaction was familiar. Eric hated not knowing something when he believed I did. Months earlier, before Dad's health declined, he barely mentioned the condo. He knew it existed. He knew it was expensive. That was about it. Then one evening, he overheard Dad discussing an updated valuation. $30 million. After that, the questions started. Would you sell it if it came to you? Maybe. Would inheritance count as marital property? I don't know. Could we borrow against something like that? I never thought about it. Then came the question I should have paid more attention to. If your dad leaves it to you, can you put my name on it? I had looked at him across the kitchen table. Why would I do that? Eric had shrugged. Because we're married. At the time, I told myself he was just thinking out loud. 2 weeks before Dad's funeral, he tried again. Where does your father keep his estate documents? With Maya. All of them, as far as I know. His expression had hardened. So you've never actually seen them. Why do you care? I'm asking a normal question. It hadn't felt normal. Now, sitting beside him after burying my father, I finally understood why. You planned this, I said. Eric glanced at me. What? The locksmith. You didn't wake up this morning and suddenly decide to change the lock. He was silent for 2 seconds too long. Then he said, I contacted him earlier this week. My stomach dropped. Before Dad was even buried. Stop saying it like that. How else should I say it? I knew you were going to make emotional decisions. So you made one for me. I protected us. I turned toward him fully. What exactly did you show the locksmith? My ID, our marriage certificate, some documents connecting you to the property. My voice sharpened. What documents? Nothing illegal. That wasn't what I asked. Eric exhaled hard. The point is, he accepted them. That told me enough. This hadn't been grief. It had been preparation. Eric reached into the center console and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. I want something in writing. I didn't touch it. What is that? An agreement. Neither of us makes decisions about the condo without the other. I stared at him. You actually brought paperwork to my father's funeral. It's not about the funeral. That's exactly what makes it worse. He pushed the paper toward me. Sign it. No. His expression changed immediately. Then you can stay somewhere else tonight. I blinked. You're locking me out of our home too. I'm saying you can come back when you start acting married. For the first time all day, I felt completely calm. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. Eric gave a tight smile. Calling the locksmith. No. I tapped Maya's name. She answered on the second ring. Tasha. Eric changed the condo locks this morning. Silence. Not confusion. Not surprise. Silence. Then Maya's voice came back sharp and controlled. Do not let him enter that property again. Eric turned toward me. I kept the phone to my ear. Maya. Tasha, your husband has no idea what he just interfered with. Less than 3 hours later, Eric was standing in the lobby of the $30 million condo building with a new access card between his fingers. Watch, he said. He had summoned me there, as if he intended to prove a point. I hadn't come alone. Maya walked beside me, carrying a slim leather folder. Eric's brother was already standing near the elevators. Apparently, Eric had told him that we were taking over the condo. His brother looked at me and shook his head. You two really shouldn't be fighting over something this big. I stopped. There wouldn't be a fight if Eric hadn't changed the locks while I was burying my father. Eric stepped toward the elevator scanner. You keep saying that because you want me to sound like some kind of criminal. He raised the new access card. The scanner flashed red. Eric tried again. Red. What the hell? The property manager came from behind the front desk. Mr. Monroe, that access has been suspended. By who? There's an ownership verification issue. Eric laughed once. There's no issue. My wife owns this condo. I'm her husband. His brother looked at me. Tasha, if this is about keeping inherited money separate, just say that. For once, I didn't defend myself. I looked at Maya. She remained completely calm. Eric pulled a document from his jacket. Here, this is what I gave the locksmith. Maya took it and read slowly. Then she looked up. Your name appears nowhere here as an owner. I never said I was the owner. You represented yourself as authorized to change access. Through my wife. Maya tilted her head. And who told you marriage gives you authority to alter access to a property? Eric's voice rose. If Tasha inherited the condo, then I have rights through her. The lobby went quiet enough that I noticed the receptionist watching us. Maya closed the folder. You're arguing about an inheritance that you haven't even established exists. Eric froze. What does that mean? Before Maya answered, the property manager's phone rang. He listened briefly, thanked whoever was calling, then returned to us. Building Council has confirmed the instructions. The unauthorized access changes are being reversed. Eric stared at him. Authorized by who? The appropriate property representative. I want a name. You'll need to discuss that with Council. Eric's face reddened. I paid to have those locks changed. And those changes were not properly authorized. Eric looked at me. Tasha, tell him. Tell him what? That you own the condo. I said nothing. That silence hit him harder than an argument would have. His brother frowned. Wait, you do own it, right? Eric turned back toward the manager. Give me my card. The manager held it for a moment. Then he reached beneath the desk, picked up a pair of scissors, and cut the access card cleanly in half. One piece fell onto the counter. Then the other. Eric stared down at them. For the first time since my father's funeral, my husband didn't look like a man taking control of $30 million. He looked like a man beginning to realize he might never have had control at all. I want proof. Eric's voice followed us across the lobby. Maya stopped near the doors. Proof of what? That I don't have rights to that condo. You want to discuss property ownership? Yes. Fine, my office, Tasha present. An hour later, Eric sat across from us at Maya's conference table. His brother was gone. So was the confidence Eric had carried into the condo building. Maya opened her leather folder and placed several documents in front of him. Read. Eric immediately started scanning the pages. I watched his finger move down one document until it stopped. There. His posture straightened. He turned the page toward me and tapped my name. Tasha Monroe. A small smile returned to his face. I knew it. Maya didn't move. Read the word beside her name. Eric looked down. His smile faded slightly. Trustee. Do you know what that means? It means she controls it. That wasn't my question. Eric looked at me. You told me your father wanted you to handle the condo. He did. You told me Maya had the estate documents. She does. And now your name is sitting right there. I leaned forward. Eric, when did I ever tell you Dad was leaving the condo to me personally? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. When did I ever call it my condo? Silence. When did I tell you I planned to sell it? You didn't. Because I never said any of the things you convinced yourself I said. His jaw tightened. Maya turned another document toward him. Mr. Monroe, the property transfer occurred months before your father-in-law died. Eric looked down. What transfer? The one you should have understood before hearing a locksmith. He stared at the page. Maya continued. Your wife's father completed his estate planning while he was alive. His death did not suddenly transfer this condo into Tasha's personal ownership. Eric's eyes moved between us. But she's the trustee. Yes. So she controls it. She has legal responsibilities regarding it. And I'm married to her. Maya leaned back. Marriage to a trustee does not give you an ownership interest in trust property. The color drained from Eric's face. Everything he had done, from calling the locksmith to bringing paperwork to my father's funeral, had been based on one assumption. Dad died. Tasha gets the condo. I'm Tasha's husband. Therefore, I get a piece of $30 million. Except Dad had spent months making sure his affairs were handled properly. And Eric had never bothered to ask what that actually meant. He looked at Maya. Then who owns it? Before she could answer, the office door opened. Maya's assistant stepped inside. Sorry to interrupt. Building council just confirmed everything. She handed Maya a document. The unauthorized access changes have been completely reversed. They've also documented the locksmith work and Mr. Monroe's attempted access. Eric's head snapped toward her. Documented. Maya took the paper. Yes, thank you. Her assistant left. The door clicked shut. Maya looked at the confirmation, placed it neatly beside the trust documents, then turned the paperwork toward Eric. Now, she said, we can discuss what you actually tried to take. Maya placed one finger on the first page. The Monroe Family Property Trust owns the condo. Eric stared at her. What? Not Tasha, not you, the trust. She slid the property records toward him. Months before your father-in-law died, he transferred the condo into an irrevocable family property trust. The transfer was completed while he was alive. Eric looked at me. So you knew. I knew exactly what Dad arranged. And you didn't tell me. I told you his estate planning was finished. You never asked me how the condo was structured. You decided you already knew. Maya pointed to my name. Tasha was appointed successor trustee because her father trusted her to administer the property according to the trust terms. Being trustee does not make this condo her personal asset. Eric leaned back slowly. So she didn't inherit it. Not personally. And because I'm married to her. You acquire no ownership interest in trust property merely because your spouse is the trustee. The room went silent. That was why I had laughed at the cemetery. Eric had threatened to end our marriage unless I surrendered control of what he thought was my $30 million inheritance. But neither of us personally owned the condo. He had used our marriage as leverage to seize rights that marriage had never given him. Eric rubbed his forehead. Then, incredibly, he asked, could Tasha eventually transfer it out of the trust? I stared at him. Maya's expression hardened. But I answered first. You changed locks while I was burying my father, and you're still asking how to get the condo. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. Eric pushed his chair back. I panicked, okay? Your dad died. There was uncertainty. I was thinking about our future. Grief didn't schedule a locksmith, Eric. He looked away. Planning did. He had contacted that locksmith before Dad was buried. He had gathered documents, taken our marriage certificate, arranged the lock change, and brought an agreement for me to sign at the funeral. That wasn't panic. It was preparation. Maya gathered the documents. There's another practical matter. Building management has permanently removed you from the authorized visitor and access records unless Tasha specifically approves your entry. Eric looked at me. I said nothing. The locksmith work and the cost of restoring the building's approved access arrangements have also been documented, Maya continued. Those expenses will not simply be absorbed by the trust. And the documents I gave the locksmith. Preserved. Eric swallowed. For what? In case there is ever a dispute about what representations were made. For the first time that day, he seemed to understand that his little power play had created a paper trail. And because Eric had already told relatives that I was trying to keep our $30 million condo from him, the truth didn't stay private for long. The same people who had watched him corner me beside my father's grave learned that I had never personally inherited the condo. They learned he had changed the locks before Dad was even buried. His version of me, the selfish wife hiding millions from her husband, collapsed under the facts. In the parking lot outside Maya's office, Eric tried one final time. We can fix this. I stopped beside my car. Can we? I was angry when I said we should split. I didn't mean divorce. I looked at the man I had spent 6 years making myself smaller around. The problem isn't one sentence. Tasha. The problem is what you were willing to do when you thought $30 million had made me vulnerable. His face changed. I'm your husband. You were. He went still. I remembered his words, beside my father's grave. If you're not okay with it, maybe we should split. You were right about one thing, I said. We should split. Suddenly, the ultimatum he had used to frighten me terrified him. Tasha, wait. But I was finished waiting. I filed for divorce. Eric left our shared home under the normal process governing the property that actually belonged to our marriage. The condo never became part of that argument because there was nothing to divide. It remained exactly where Dad had placed it, inside the Monroe Family Property Trust. I continued serving as trustee, managing it according to my father's instructions instead of treating it like a personal jackpot. And I stopped pretending I understood less than I did just to keep someone else comfortable. Months later, I returned to the condo for trust business. The approved access system had been completely restored. I checked the authorization list before leaving. My name was there, in the capacity Dad had chosen for me. Eric wasn't anywhere. He had believed changing one lock would force me to surrender $30 million and prove that he had power over me. Instead, it showed me exactly who I had married. Eric changed the lock because he thought $30 million had given him power over me. In the end, the only thing he successfully locked himself out of was my life.